Goodness. Welcome to the Church of Mabus radio show. It's Friday night. We're all still alive, and we know it's the apocalypse, but we're moshing still in the mosh pit. We're beat up. We're beat up, but we're here. Man, things just feel nuts. Like, I have to see, first off, Carter Buschardt's here. Great to have him back. Jay McNicholas, co-host. I'm someone that has to look at all the stuff going on right now in the government, political stuff. Unfortunately, most of the stuff I have to see is on the right. And let me tell you, just the titles is batshit crazy. Something just blew up over Florida. Why am I looking up in my house? Something about 2 Elon Musk satellites.
Oh, yeah.
Again?
Yeah, it's like who's shooting those?
He's had some setbacks with a Starliner test flight this past week. So
yeah,
but good.
I wanted Bernie Sanders. That's all I know. Whatever this dystopian nightmare from hell is, I don't really, I don't get it. But it reminds me, one thing I use as a parallel, and then we'll get started with what we're supposed to be talking about. If you've seen that new Lord of the Rings show, that's on Amazon, you know, the one that's
the Rohirrim one?
Yeah, the Rings of Power.
There's
Sauron's with the master ring maker, and I forget their names or whatever, but you know, the elf that makes all the rings that he enslaved. And somehow he convinces that guy that outside in their kingdom, everything's peaceful. So when the ring maker goes and looks outside, everything's beautiful. Children laughing, wagons going by, everything's beautiful, you know, the way it usually is in their kingdom. But anyway, what's really happening is the orcs are raiding the living shit out of it and burning it to the ground. And Sauron's just showing him the illusion so he'll finish the rings. Mm-hmm. That's what this reminds me of. Like, it's a metaphor for different levels, but it's just weird mostly. But it's great to have you here, Carter. Baptized by Abduction. First off, the main reason we do the show is because I had UFO stuff happen to me, and it's something. I mean, it's psychologically, I think I'm still getting over it. I don't know if you ever get over it.
You don't, you know, but I've befriended it because I can do nothing about it. I can't do anything to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to deal with it, you know.
Yeah, and I remember the Christopher Walken movie, and I guess it's based on the book and everything of Whitley Strieber, where he goes mad and basically shoots the gun into the rifle in his house, and you know, it can make you crazy. And I think I've had to deal with that on some levels, some PTSD, and now it's like I see UFOs sometimes, but nothing like the big crazy stuff I saw in my younger days. But now you want to see more of it, and it's not happening, and it's just disappointing. But sometimes it happens. But the main reason we do the show is UFO stuff happened to me. And it started, trauma is a big part of why I think I seen some of the stuff that happened to me is just from the testicular cancer and chemo. And then several years later, my dad died, and a lot of paranormal experiences heated up when my dad passed away that were beings of light that I saw different times, completely sober, and also other states of consciousness. But I believe that was him on some level. I don't know for sure, but it seemed to heat up a lot after he died for some reason on a lot of levels. And I think trauma, you know, opened me up on some levels. But a lot of my stuff is like there were witnesses there who saw the stuff too, from family members to friends. And at the time when you see it, it's kind of like terrifying and really just weird. Like, it's surreal when you think about it. And there's a lot of instances where I've seen UFOs over me, and I swear I don't remember much more than that. And I don't know if I've been taken, but I mean, I don't rule it out either. But one of the big ones was a pyramid craft over some power lines, and a ball of light came out towards me and my friend. And I swear I remember that. And I asked him about it years later, and he didn't remember it at all. And he was right there. Like, I've had that happen a lot too, but there are some that remember.
Yeah. If someone's not an abductee, it's shown that many times that they have absolutely no memory because they're not they don't have the same gap in memory as the abductee or contactee would experience. They're usually left behind. Is really the key on that.
My thing, yeah, my thing is there's a lot of UFO sightings that seem like they were over me, like they were there for me, and not to be, David Koresh from Waco and I'm the chosen one. I don't believe that. And maybe it was in the neighborhood and I was one of the people in line as well. So, but it seemed like a lot of my experiences, like the craft was there focused over my home. So that's a lot to deal with on a lot of different levels, like why and why me, and
why not you?
Yeah. And then, of course, there's a lot of kooks that let it go to their head. So I don't think I've ever done that, thank Jesus. But it's a crazy subject, And what were some of your initial experiences when that started everything, the catalyst?
Well, I found out. Have you read any of the book?
Have I? Why? I've read it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I found out by accident. Now I'd been abducted since the age of about 8 or 9. I had no idea until I was 53 years old. I didn't find out until 2004. I was taken originally, roughly 1958, maybe 59. And I found out by accident. Now, I can either tell you how I found out by accident, or I can tell you what happened on the day I was abducted. And then I found out 50 years later that I was actually abducted. I didn't know. I'll do it simply. 1958, Dallas, Texas. That's where I lived at the time. I have told this story 1,000 times. The one I'm about to tell you, not the abduction, but stupid things you do as a kid that could have got you, should have got you killed, but didn't. So, and I always told the story of me and my friend racing bikes in Dallas, Texas. We ran a stop sign, just being dumb 8-year-old kids. And this car blew by us, and I could feel my shirt flying by, and it blew by us. And we were like, God, how did we not get killed? Oh my God. We were freaked out. It's right in front of my house. I was more worried that my mother was going to kill us for riding our bikes and running a stop sign, being stupid. But I've told that story, like if you're at a gathering. I was in sales. So you at a meeting or a gathering, a party, and you try to make conversation. So you talk about stupid things you did, like, well, I remember I stuck my finger in a light socket once, and well, I stuck my, you tell all these stories. So I said, well, I ran a stop sign, almost got killed by a car running a stop sign. Well, it wasn't a car. It was a UFO. It was a craft. And I thought it was a blue Buick that ran by us and almost hit us. Well, it wasn't. It was a spacecraft. I didn't find that out till later. Well, it's a screen memory. My grandparents had a blue 1951 Buick Roadmaster in their garage. That's the screen memory that was placed in my head, so I would not remember that it was a UFO that almost hit us and took us. It's called screen memories. You guys probably are aware of them, but in case someone listening isn't. So this memory was implanted. Mm-hmm. So I told this story 1,000 times. And I never thought, well, it's just, this car, I can't believe it didn't hit us, blah, 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 blah. So fast forward to 2004, and myself, my wife, and another couple were sitting around the house here one night. We got to talking after dinner. Hey, I wonder if we ever had a past life. I always thought I was a woman in a past life. And everybody else was like, yeah, that's kind of interesting. What do you do? So, well, we got to find a regression hypnotist. So I went in 2004 to a phone book in my house. You still had phone books. I found hypnotherapy. I found a woman who literally lived 30 miles east of me. And we went, this was a Friday night. We went the next day. I booked it because she had just gotten out of school and just gotten her license. So this is perfect. So all four of us drive out to her place east of Kansas City. And we're in her studio. It's a nice big barn, excuse me, and it's got like hay bales and chairs and tables, and we're all just kind of sitting around watch each other. And we're recording everything. So my wife goes first. She can't go under. Some people cannot be hypnotized due to control issues. It's not a big thing. A lot of people just can't be hypnotized.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, the wife of my old friend, he went under. He had one life. Nancy, his wife, who's she was married to my old comedy partner, and he passed away. She had 2 past lives. And then it was my turn. So they get me there, and I start getting fidgety and kind of fighting everything. And like, I don't want to go under, but she's getting me there. It's just taking forever. And I'm fighting. It's just really weird. And all of a sudden she gets me under, and I start screaming and crying bloody murder. Get your hands off of me. Leave me alone. I was saying dirty words, you know, and where's my friend? Where's my friend? What are you doing to him? Oh my God. I was sobbing. The tears were rolling down my face. It was just mayhem. For the next hour, I sat there and cried and sobbed my way through this incredible, this is supposed to be a past life regression. It's not a UFO abduction, but apparently this memory was sitting on the edge of my subconscious, just waiting to get out, because as soon as I got under, I just started vomiting all of this abduction stuff, and they were cutting on him and doing stuff to my friend. They were doing it to me, and it was just, so that's how I found out. So that was 2004. So now it's what, 2025. So 21 years later, what is that about, right? 22, whatever. I just found out. And then I start writing, COVID hit, and I start writing books, and then I start writing the abduction book just because I couldn't go anywhere and do anything. So that's how I found out that I'd been taken. All of that stuff is locked in your head, and you don't know. You don't have it. Just like Jeff was talking about, you may have memories of things, but until you get regressed and can get in there and let them dig around. I've been regressed 8 times. 8.
Wow.
Twice by Dolores Cannon. 2 other times by 2 of her 3rd tier regressionists, and 2 other women who were up there, but not quite in that hierarchy of education level, but doesn't mean they don't know what they're doing. So Dolores took me under twice, 2005, 2010. She died in 2014. Great lady, just full of fire and brimstone, you know, and when you're going under, you're asking, am I under? Am I talking? Did I really just say that? Am I really hypnotized? And, you know, they got to keep correcting. Yeah, just shut up, keep going. You know, and that's what Dolores, she just stop it, just keep going. You're doing great. Just shut up, keep moving. It was a friendly, you know, dressing down. It was like she was real cool, you know. And I drove up to her or down to her office in Arkansas. She had I think it was an old converted gas station that had been made into a nice office. You know, it was pretty cool. But anyway, so that's how I found out, you know. And it was mind-blowing. And so all the things, you know, your childhood is not what you thought it was, because a lot of the memories you have are false memories of things that they're trying to keep you from remembering. So it was a trial by fire. But, you know, I highly encourage anyone who thinks they have been taken to get regressed. You may be scared, you may be frightened, you may be terrified, you don't want to know. Well, yeah, you do, because you'll spend the rest of your life wondering what happened when you don't do it. It's the same thing as learning about it and maybe not liking what you found out, as it is not finding out at all and wondering.
More not knowing, or at least not knowing the full truth, than having it all. Once you have, it's like one of those earworm songs. It gets in your head and you hear it all day, all day, all day. The only way to get rid of it is even if you hate the song, is to hear the song from beginning to end to clear it out of your brain. So I mean, it's like pulling off a Band-Aid. Do it all at once.
Yeah. So like Jeff was talking, my friend that I was taken with, this is very intriguing, and he was the one they were always taking, and he and I hung out a lot. And one day I just happened to be with him on this day where we ran the stop sign in front of my house.
Mm-hmm.
And I had everything they wanted. This is per my regression. I had everything they were looking for. I had everything that my friend Craig had that they were looking for. Here's the oxymoron. I was born September 16th, 1951. So was he.
Wow.
So was a third guy in my neighborhood, September 16th, 1951. If you don't think that's the perfect scientific experiment waiting to happen, you've got 3 abductees, all the same age, same biology, same everything. That's perfect. That if you're going to do experiments on humans, you want your test subjects to be relatively in the same sphere so your results can be weighed similarly,
Yeah.
And so this is the irony of it all. I went to school with the kid that I was almost hit with. We hung out all the time. We hunted, fished, hung out in the neighborhood, all of this.
Right.
I looked him up. The first thing I did after I found out that all of this was going on, I looked him up about a year ago. I found 8 people with his name. Only one had the same birthday.
Right.
Only one lived 3 blocks away from me. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the guy. It's him.
Mm-hmm.
We got separated permanently by both our parents because we were shooting off fireworks one 4th of July. We accidentally burned down the back half of his parents' 1-car garage at the back of the house. The wind blew the fireworks back down to where we had just shot them off, and all this brush just caught fire and exploded. We hauled ass. We were gone. We're out of here. So his parents blamed me. My parents blamed him. You're never going to hang out with that kid again. So we never hung out again that we know of. But I found him and I called him. He was in California. This is very, very interesting to me. I called him up. I said, "Hey, Craig, this is Carter Buschardt. I don't know if you remember me. We went to school together. We lived in the same neighborhood." No, who? I told him my name. No, I don't remember anybody. Well, I'm from Dallas, Texas. You remember Dallas, Texas? We went to high school together. No. I lived in Richardson, Texas. Okay. Well, do you know that your birthday and my birthday are the exact same? Oh, no, I didn't know that. The reason I'm calling you, I told you earlier, is because I was abducted when I was a child and you were with me. Oh, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, let me ask you another question. Have you ever been hypnotized? Well, yeah, I have tried it a couple of times, but I don't know if I believe in the science. I didn't really like it, so I never tried it again. So we talked for 20 minutes. He doesn't hang up on me. I'm telling him I was abducted by aliens with him in Dallas in 1958. He doesn't hang up on me. He keeps listening. And then I ask him about the birthday. A lot of silence goes by. It goes, That's interesting. And then I told him about, the other kid, Gordon, in the neighborhood. Oh, that's odd. And the hypnotism, you've tried it twice but didn't like it. Why did you try it? Well, I don't know. So, but my point is, here's a guy doesn't know me from anybody. I call him up out of the blue. Hey, were you abducted by aliens with me back in Dallas in 1958? He doesn't hang up on me.
Yeah, there's something. Yeah, something's there.
He is talking to me. I swear I would give away my house and all the millions of dollars I have. Oh, if I'm wrong. I swear that's him. And he is still living with the screen memories. He has no idea any of this happened. Is that crazy?
That's nuts.
But he's interested. He's talking to me.
It's because there's a kernel of truth that he his subconscious knows the truth. He just doesn't know it he doesn't know it consciously yet. So
yeah, he doesn't know it. I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to mail you a book because I have your address, and if you ever feel like getting in touch, you know who I am. I've been to his Facebook page, and he hasn't posted anything in like 2 or 3 years. It's one of those people that has a page and maybe does something once every year, like Merry Christmas to all my friends or something. He just doesn't do social media. But what are the odds that I'm going to be abducted with a kid with the same birthday, exact same birthday, same neighborhood, same everything, and he doesn't know anything about it and I do? It's just baloney. He just doesn't know because the screen memories are still in place. Well, I started getting regressed. These memories just started falling off like crazy. I started remembering all kinds of stuff, and each time, let me solidify this. I've been regressed 8 times. The last time was about a month ago. The time before that was about a year before that. 8 times. Each regressionist confirmed what I learned in the previous regression, because I told each regressionist what I was, what had happened so far, so they were up to speed. And they also validated what I had found out and showed me new events that I had completely forgotten. Then I'd go to the next regression. They would confirm everything that the previous 2 regressions had. And they would find new information. And this kept going on down to the 8th time. It gets pretty expensive. But, I got answers where I would still be scratching my bald head.
Yeah.
I found out, I've been hybridized multiple times. I had an implant that malfunctioned and ejected from my nose into some nasty nosebleed, and they put another one in. I thank you for that. Thanks for putting another one in there so you could track me. But they came to get me at my house many times. I used to have these what I thought were dreams of gray robots going down my hallway in front of my bedroom. They were coming from the area of my parents' bedroom, walking by my bedroom. I was on a top bunk of a 2-tier bunk bed. I would see these gray robots going by. I go, God, that's weird. I wonder what that is. Well, just, I was a kid having weird dreams. That's all I knew at the time, so I didn't know. But they were coming to get me, and they were turning my parents off, clicking them off, so they would not be disturbed or wake up and interrupt what they were doing to me or taking me or whatever they were doing. So they always came from right going to the left, never from left to the right, because my parents' bedroom was up there. So I didn't know that until, now I know that they were clicking my parents off so they could do whatever they wanted undisturbed,
So who are they? What race are they? What type?
Well, I saw 3 races primarily: reptilian, the Greys, well, actually two forms of the grays: the tall grays, the grays that are our height, 5-6 feet, and then I saw the little 3-foot grays, the little robots that are basically just drones. But they would come in all the time. And then I saw I don't know if you remember the show, and these are screen memories because they would not let me see them, except one time I was shown all three aliens that seemed to be messing with me the most. There was a show called the Outer Limits. Remember that show?
Yeah.
And
oh yes, very familiar.
David McCallum played the big-headed alien. It was so big, it had veins sticking out. I don't remember, but he was on 2 or 3 of those Outer Limits shows. And that alien, I think, looked very similar to that, but was using that memory of that TV show for the most part. I saw one that would not show me what he looked like. He used the face of Salvador Dali to,
wow,
with the mustache and all of that. And so those are the 3 that the tall grays, the reptilians, and this other taller alien that David McCallum played. I never got the races or the planetary systems they're from yet, except I was taken to the rings of Saturn and left there for a while to become familiar with the old souls. Apparently, the rings of Saturn are where a lot of the very, very old souls of our universe still reside. I was watching all this debris go by, dust and chunks of planets and just all kinds of stuff. Just it was all going, by me, like it was, the orbit. But I remember being out there, and they said they were going to leave me there so I could get to know the old souls. And I said, I was a kid. I was 8 years old. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here with the old people. I want to be here with kids my own age.
Right.
Well, I misunderstood them. They weren't going to leave me there, but they were leaving me there so I could see what other things were out in the universe. I took what they said literally and said, I don't want to be here. These are old people. I don't want to be around old people. I'm an 8-year-old kid. I want to have fun. So it was just that's the beginning of it all. And I would just have random times that I would remember something after, and I go, well, that's just kind of weird. That doesn't make sense. They had other screen memories they gave me of my grandmother, which was the weird part of this. So you guys know the screen memories. You know what those are, right? They make you remember something other than what you saw. So
right. Yeah. They're usually what they another word is that they use is masking, a masking memory. The ICAR, one of the organization that Joe Montalvo runs the station, they found a woman who was she did this thing regularly while she was pregnant. She went to the same store, like a 7-Eleven kind of store, every day at the same time on her way to work or what have you. Got the same drink from the same refrigerator, and just that one drink, and drank it every day. It was like her pregnancy habit, or whatever you want to call it. And she did that all throughout the pregnancy until the child was born. But she didn't realize that she is being abducted also, because they used that memory of her going to this convenience store to get this drink as a way to mask when she was abducted. So like several years after the child was born, she had a memory of doing that going to get that drink again. And that's when she kind of started questioning, why did I have that drink yesterday? Then things started coming back to her that, oh, I'm being abducted. So that is basically the essence of the what you're calling the place marker memory. It indicates when you've been taken, and from that point on, any memory you have is false.
Yeah, they'll give you something that's incredibly similar or familiar.
Mm-hmm. So it's something that you won't be scared of, because the memories that you might have would be possibly scary and or stressful.
Yeah, like you see, you're starting to relive your memory. All of a sudden, it's like, "Boop, squirrel," and then you forget and you start looking at something else. The thing they do with my
a better analogy. Yeah, the squirrel thing is a great analogy. Absolutely.
the thing they do with my grandmother, when they came in and they came into my bedroom and they would take me, but they would show me a rocking chair with my grandmother sitting in the rocking chair in our bedroom. Well, number one, there was no rocking chair in our bedroom. There was no room for it if there was one. And they would show, I call it Aunt Jemima, because at the time, the same time I remembered the car almost hitting us. And it turned out later it was a black spacecraft. But anyway, I would also have this memory of my grandmother looking like Aunt Jemima. And this is where in the regressions, you start picking up on things and you notice things, and their regression starts wearing off because they made my grandmother, who had gray hair up in a bun and glasses, they had her in the white hat and round glasses and looking dressed like Aunt Jemima. But there was no Aunt Jemima in my room. It was the gray alien who was disguising himself as Aunt Jemima, the tall gray, so that I would not focus on him. And so I found out in later regressions he was altering his description, altering his look, so that I couldn't claim that it was the gray, it was the little grays. But the screen memory started wearing off. And I said, "You're not my grandmother. Who are you?" And they would say, "Well, you weren't supposed to remember that."
Yeah.
Or they would say, "Well, you'll never remember, but you won't forget either." They keep giving you these oxymoron statements, these things that are just trying to, just throw you off a little bit. It's kind of a sense of humor. For a while, I thought I was talking to humans because their terminology was so. What's the word?
I know where you're going. It's sort of like a question game I used to play with my mom.
Similarity. There was a similarity in their dialogue and verbiage that told me, am I talking to human? Because my last regression I did just 2 or 3 weeks ago came out that they may have been humans. I may have been abducted by humans along with the aliens. I could have been in multiple programs and just not known it.
Yeah, there are several human types that are close enough to us, and with some of their mental powers can easily pass for us in human communities. The reptilians also, like this is great you mentioned that. The reptilians actually, in some cases, they use a technology that masks what they look like. It's a holographic technology, but they also have a mental capacity. The stronger ones, they can tell your mind to look at them as a human. So you're seeing them the way they actually are, but your eyes don't register what your brain sees, kind of thing. They tell your brain how to see what you're looking at. So they appear human, but they're actually not.
Yeah. Well, here's the weird thing. The day after that regression, when all four of us were out there, the very next day, my wife and I just went out by ourselves on a Sunday. So we found her on a Friday, went out there on a Saturday, and then my wife and I went alone on Sunday. And she was telling me that some of the programs are run through our military here on the planet, and it's supposed to look like ETs. They don't want you to know it's our military, because back early 50s, very late 40s, Eisenhower and Truman sold us down the river to the ETs for technology.
1953, they agree out a treaty. Yep.
Yeah, 53 to 73, and they burned everything. They burned all the records of that afterward, and so we'll never know what was in that. But Laura Eisenhower lives just down the highway from. She's in Kansas, and I'm in Missouri, so she lives there. That's where the Eisenhowers are from, I think.
I interviewed her. I interviewed her once a long time ago, very long time ago. But yeah. Here's a question about hypnosis. When you're under, or when you're telling your story and everything, and they're getting information out, do you struggle with it as far as if it's the truth? I mean, how do you know imagination from the truth? Is it a struggle? That's where I think I would find my struggle a lot with it. But I'm just trying. Was there a struggle with that to come to your inner truth during it? I mean, I don't know if I can be hypnotized. I'm sure I can. I would think so, but maybe not. I don't know. But are you really?
Do you have control issues?
Probably.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't know. I mean, being hypnotized is a form of letting somebody into your space that you may not be comfortable with. That's my wife's issue. She just is never she likes to be in control. And when you're hypnotized, you're not in control. You're laying there, you're bearing your soul, and some people just aren't comfortable with it, so they won't do it, But if you have a thirst for knowledge, you can overcome that. And a good therapist will talk to you about all of that before you do it and spend a dime and go through any of that, But I'm telling all these things, and I'm seeing these things and hearing these things, I'm wanting the information. Are you afraid of what you might hear? That's a question to ask yourself.
Yeah. And I find it terrifying for sure.
Yeah, I didn't know. See, this might be the only thing that saved my ass, is because I went looking for a past life regression, because I was a woman in a past life. It did come out with other regressionists. I was a woman during Jack the Ripper. I witnessed him kill a woman, and I saw her blood running down the cobblestones. I saw her intestines laying out on the sidewalk. Nice. I saw the black street lamps with the flame lit streets, all of that. I mean, I was there. And, the second or third regression, it kept coming up. So she dealt with that more than my abduction, just to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And so I was a woman in early 1800s London. I was there when he killed a woman, and I had guilt because I couldn't stop him or save her. But I was trying. She had blood gushing everywhere. Her intestines were out everywhere. It was just gross. And I was looking at it going, I can't help this person. But so anyway, back to your question. You have to really want to know it, and that's why you may have to go to some seriously talented, skilled hypnotists that are that QHHT third tier regression, because they can fight. Because while I'm sitting there out, I'm going, did I really say that? That's not real. Did I just say that? Am I under? You think you're awake because you're just talking to Jeff's super subconscious.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like talking to yourself. So you're not really, after a while, you're so comfortable laying there. This is me. I'm going, am I under? Am I?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
What do you see? What do you see when you're out? Well, I see the flowers. I see the clouds. I see the lamp on your desk. Am I under? Yes, you're under. Because they can tell. It's weird. It sounds funny, but
is it like sleeping, or is it like being on a heavy drug?
Well, I was wide awake and I had my eyes open, And there were times I wanted to close my eyes to heighten the event. But I'm awake and you're talking, and when the hypnotist says, well, so Carter, ask him a question. You're asking yourself. You're asking your super subconscious.
Yeah.
Like we talked about this before the show. You see, hear, and know everything Jeff has ever done, good, bad, and in the middle in his life.
Oh, goodness.
Ever. Some things you may want to forget. Some things you never remembered doing. Some things you had no idea you did. Whatever. Your subconscious will tell you, if you give it permission, what happened. If you saw aliens, if you were abducted. And I had, contrary to being a control freak and not going under, I threw up, vomited all of this stuff that was just waiting to get out. And it just happened to have been right time, right place. I could have gone another 20 years and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
So I got to ask Carter, who is Jack the Ripper? Who do you think it was?
That's the guy that they just found out who it is from DNA.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I've heard the H.H. Holmes stuff, which I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it's interesting that maybe H.H. Holmes was Jack the Ripper. There's a lot of weird stuff about Jack the Ripper.
H.H. Holmes stuff.
Yeah, the thing they just released that seems to point to his DNA and everything. He was a doctor, or he was kind of a strange doctor who had been a doctor in many places.
So, Carter, let me ask you this: on average, 8 times you've been hypnotized. Is there an average length? Are they all very lengthy, or is one longer than others? What's the longest one?
2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 hours, yeah.
Now that's just the hypnosis. Now with the QHHT, you're going to go in and have a hour and a half, 2 hour talk with your medications that you're taking, your health, all the things that could be affected by you reliving things. They just ask you about all the things, all medications you're on, your history, your medical history, if you had surgery, blah, blah, blah. They'll ask all the things so they know if you start acting a certain way that this may be a reflection that you need to come out,
Right.
So they ask all those things. That's about an hour and a half or 2 hours of that. And then my session, this most recent one I did was 5 hours altogether. Oh, wow. 2 in a conversation and 2.5 to 3 with actual regression. The one I did right before her was about 6 hours. And it was about 3 hours under, hour and a half or 2 hours pre regression, and then an hour afterwards, talking, getting stuff down. So, I mean, what's it worth to you? If you want the answers, and it's a regression regarding potential abductions by ETs or even Sasquatch events where you are mortified with what you saw, you just put a block in your mind. You can't, regression can get that too. I've had, I'd say at least a half a dozen women call me, and you guys would probably know who they were if I said their names. They had dreams as a child of being taken out of the window of their bedroom and floated up to a craft, brought back down. 4 or 5 months later, they take a fetus out of they're pregnant. Not sure if they're pregnant or not. ETs, as a rule, I don't know for sure, but they gestate at about 4 months, humans 9 months. So after the embryo or the DNA material is placed in the human body, they come back after 4 months or so, take the material, put it in the vats that you've all seen growing in crafts to let them mature with the human alien DNA combination. So they do that to let the embryo come full cycle. A lot of times, the women women are come back and they take the women and show them their kids every now and then. You've heard of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, there are several documented
Yeah.
pregnancies that were the women's gynecologists that document this pregnancy for 3-4 at least one full trimester of pregnancy, and then when the baby is removed by the alien organisms, the doctor can find no sign of pregnancy, none of the secondary signs, none of the primary signs, no swelling of the breast, no mammary gland expansion, no stretch marks on the skin, no none of the material that grows on the inside of the uterus when there's a baby, and even prior to that, just without being pregnant, just the normal cycle of the stuff that grows on the inside of the uterus before it's ejected each month.
Yeah.
You can find none of that stuff, so that's very strange.
Yeah. Well, it's a real thing. So Jeff, the good news is you're probably not pregnant.
Definitely.
But don't, I didn't fear, once I found out by accident. The first time was totally by accident. Once I found it out, I went right back and got on the horse, because it was like, this can't be real. I got to go find somebody else. And then I found somebody else. She goes, oh yes, that's true. This has happened, and this has happened, and blah blah blah. I'm going, well, she's got to be mistaken. I got to go find another one. Well, after about the third time, I was going, okay, this stuff is real, And here's the weird thing. Speaking of fear, which I was not ready or not capable of admitting, after I did my 7 regressions before the last 2 I did, well, the 6 before the last 2, these tapes sat up in the closet here in my office. I'm looking right up here. They sat in my top shelf for 20 years. I didn't do anything with them. They just sat there. All these tapes, I had all cassette tapes. All my sessions were recorded. They say, listen to them over and over. You're going to catch new material every time. You're going to remember new things every time. Do it, do it, do it. I ignored her. I'll get to it I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week, next month, next year. 2024, 20 years later, I finally get off my butt and transcribe them from the tapes into a Word document format, and then turn them into a book by transcribing the tapes over to what I did. So, and that took me about 3 months, but I didn't do anything with it. I kept blaming, well, I just started my Sasquatch research because 2004 or so, I was just getting into Sasquatch. And so I don't want it to interfere. I'm getting into this now. I'm starting to lead expeditions. Here's some more irony that this is so, it all ties together. The 51 Buick. That's the 51 Buick. Right about the time I got hypnotized, but just a few weeks before, probably a week or so before, we had decided we wanted to buy an old car to restore. And we've had like 8 or 9 over the last 20 years, cars, antique cars. We restore them, sell them, and enjoy them, and then sell them and do it again. So the car was the 51 Buick, but that's not what it was. It was a spacecraft. I was initially, later on, I was shown the craft. It showed up at another area, a creek where we used to fish. The car that my wife and I bought was a 51 Buick to restore. I remembered it because I seen it at my grandparents'. I thought that was a cool car. It was blue. It was baby blue, aqua almost. Beautiful car, 4-door, like the one we restored. But the one we bought in Chicago and shipped down was black, and we just restored it and kept it black. At the time we bought the car and had it shipped down here, I had no idea about the Buick. I had no idea about the. I didn't know any of this yet. It was like a week or so.
Yeah, your subconscious was
Yeah, I was tapping on my own shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean that it is just ironic as heck that is what we did, and we decided to redo that car. You know, and I wish I had it. We ended up selling it to a collector in Spain, but it was a beautiful car. But see, the little subliminal things they do that affect your life and you don't even know it. That car that almost hit us, which wasn't a car but a craft, was in my head, and I had, let's go buy a car to restore. And then I'll be darned, a week or two later, I'm getting regressed, and it was not a 51 Buick, it was a UFO. Well, we just bought a Buick. What? All of a sudden the world is like, what? You start going, oh my God, how'd you get in my head? What are you doing? You know,
it's at that point when you realize there is no such thing as coincidences anymore.
No, serendipity. I don't believe. I say that on my Sasquatch research. I don't believe there's no. Yeah, it's synchronicity. There's no coincidence.
Synchronicity is another better one. Yes.
Yeah. So it's just so the car, and then the Craig denying it was him, which I understand because he has no idea, and I know it was him. Now, I haven't mailed him a book yet. I think I might do it, but I don't want to get in trouble. I'll have him go off the deep end or something. You know, I don't know anything about this. He might jump off a roof or something. I mean, I don't know. You know,
one of my weirdest experiences that I always remember is some 3 small hooded beings in the woods, and they're maybe about 2 or 3 foot tall. And they seem skinny, like they remind me of Jawas from Star Wars, but not as fat as Jawas. And you couldn't see their faces. And there was 3 of them, and in front of them was a black box. And my friend Brian was with me, and we were partying and doing stupid things. And we saw them in the woods, and we both agreed that we saw them. And a cat that was black jumped towards them. Like the cat jumped at them and they vanished. And at that time, I had been looking at some Celtic kind of stuff, like otherworld kind of stuff, that kind of subject and things like that. So I don't know if it was something from that, but that was definitely one of the weirdest ones. And does that ring a bell? Like any kind of beings like that? What was some of your weirder ones?
The Salvador Dali, the big head, the reptilian, the tall gray.
It's weird that Salvador Dali, though. I mean, was your friend like into art or art? Is he go to art school? Or just it's a strange.
Yeah, and that's why the regressionist I went to the very last. She's the one I went to who discovered all this. I went back out to her the very last. The lady before her was the tier 3 Dolores Cannon graduate. And so she got a lot of stuff. But, what was the question?
Oh, I was just asking about some of your being encounters. And
the being encounters?
Yeah, have you have any cloaked beings or small beings like I described in my encounter ever come up?
I had no, they were all typical, except the Salvador Dali. He was like in a kind of cape looking thing. I almost wanted to say it was a Dracula cape with the collar kind of up a little bit. But other than that, I've never seen any of the little forest gnomes or stuff that you described.
Why do you say Salvador Dali? It looked like Salvador Dali, or like?
Yeah, no, it was like it looked like. Who's that terrorist group now that has that black? It's black hair. It kind of looks like a Salvador Dali caricature. There's a terrorist group.
I'm not sure of that symbol, but I know what Salvador Dali looks like. So
Yeah, but
I did go to art school, so I know he was he was a very flamboyant young man.
yeah,
But I do believe I've seen some pictures of Dali that actually where he does have like a cape, like you say, like with a gold or braided, like a vampire thing with a braided rope tie across.
I got the feeling, as did the most recent regressionist, that he was human and the other ones were ETs. He seemed hostile, like he didn't want to be there, but the other ones were there willingly because, they were required to answer my questions since I had gotten to this level of knowledge. Because I kept telling them, you guys, you put these screen memories in my head 60 years ago, 65 years ago. Your stuff's wearing off. Is it like that good it never dies? Because your stuff's wearing off. I'm seeing stuff. And you think I'm not seeing it. I am seeing it. And that's why I want to know more, because it's not fair that you've got all this stuff locked in my head and I can't access it. And I don't know what your fear is. Well, they would tell me, you're a very outgoing and very strong-willed, positive, powerful person. We're afraid you'll talk before time is right. I said, tell me stuff I won't tell anybody. It's all in my head. All I want is access to what's in here. I don't want your deep, dark secrets. I just want you to tell me what's locked in here that has already happened to me. It belongs to me.
Yeah, what did you turn off?
I should be allowed to access it. It's mine. You couldn't have done this without me. So they did. I did get to see the ET that took me and was shutting my parents off. And it was not the gray. And so on my last regression, I guess when you do all these stair step things, when you start out and you've never done it, you're getting very sleepy. You're getting sleepy. You want to climb up on top of the cloud and float up to the other clouds and blah, 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 blah. It goes through all these processes to get you under. And the more and more they do it, the more you're ready to go under quicker each time you go under after the first time. So on session number 8, she goes, look, I'm going to try something. I'm going to try skipping a couple of steps because you've been under 7 times. This is 8. You should not have to go through all of that. Get on the petal of flowers, get on the cloud, lay on the cloud, float up to the other clouds, and then get off and then go to there's a stair step process to get people under. Well, I went straight to like level 3 where I'm skipping some of this. We're going to get on an elevator. Instead of going up, we're already up and we're going to go down. So we're going to start up and start you up at the top and tell me what you see. And I did get under quicker. I saw the ET that was in remember I kept saying, well, they're going into my parents' bedroom and shutting the parents down so they won't be disturbed, won't wake up while they're doing whatever they're doing to me. Well, that's what exactly was happening, except the being that I saw, and it's kind of funny, was not a gray, but it was one of these ETs you see where the head goes back down halfway down the back, the long tubular head just goes like that. And here's the funny part. I start walking down the hall toward my parents' bedroom. I've never done this before. Under. And I get to the door and I'm looking at, I said, now what are your parents doing? I said, well, my dad is laying on his back like a cadaver. He's like stiff as a board, straight. His arms are by his sides and his legs are straight and stiff. My mom is conked out. She's on her side. She's facing the window, out the front of the house. And so, well, do you see the ET? And I look around and I say, well, no, I don't. I said, maybe he's in the bathroom, because the door to the bathroom was the same wall as the door to their bedroom, but there was a closet and then the door, and the bathroom went back to the back of the house. Anyway, I stick my head around and I look and I see this ET, and he's backing up. He's tall. He's 6-7 foot tall, but he's starting to back up like this. He takes a couple of steps back and he's screwed. He's against the bathroom door. He goes, I can't move anymore. So he blinks at me a couple of times, and I think he's acknowledging me, and then he takes a couple of steps forward, real small steps, and I step out, and he's going, and I'm looking at him, and he's looking right at me. He's like, I don't know if it's a smile or a grimace, or if it's just the expression on his face, but he lets me see him, because it's like, I'm screwed. I have to let the guy see me. I'm part of this, truth thing we're doing here. So I've got to let him see me. So I saw him, and he had these all kinds of like tubes and wires and lights going up and down, like computer, like just lights going back up and forth like a computer, and all this tubes and just space gear and stuff. But he wasn't a gray, but the gray is what they kept calling it. But he was not a gray, unless there's another universal term for grays that covers a lot of different ET types. But he was not the gray that I saw. I have grays here I have a gray statue here in my kitchen. I know, it's not what they look like. But I got to see him, and it was funny, because it was like I said, he had to participate. But what I was getting at about the Salvador Dali being kind of hostile, myself and the regressionist, we agreed he may have been a human dressed up, because he was very hostile and anxious and aggravated, like he was there, and he was very short and abrupt with all his answers, and everybody else was talkative and communicative and taking their time. And so, and some of the words and phrases were human type things, like groovy baby.
Were they Dali-esque things? Were they the way Dali was?
Well, it was a question. He would answer a question with another question.
Oh, okay.
Part of an answer, like they kept saying, well, you won't remember, but you won't forget either. Or if you think it happened, it probably did.
That's the way they like to deflect they deflect the question with the question.
Yeah, and that's a human thing. I mean, it's probably a universal thing. That's so if everyone's trying to blow you off and dissuade you, then they're gonna lie and do whatever. So, but that's what she even thought that was an aggressive way of speaking to me, where he was just seemed anxious and not wanting to be there, like I was going to find him out. It just seemed like the phraseology he was using was something that any one of us would use. Other than that, I have no proof of that.
Right? Yeah,
but, we all know or are aware of the Eisenhower Truman stuff with the ETs and technology, that Area 51 and all that. So we've been trading humans for technology for a long time.
Definitely. And it's just interesting, the different types of beings. As far as Have you kept up with any of the Skinwalker Ranch shows or any of those? That's
Yeah, I watch a lot of the Skinwalker stuff. I am just now getting Dogman reports here in Missouri.
Wow.
wow.
I've taken
like local reports or from all over the country.
no Arkansas, Missouri. Yeah, 2 Missouri, 1 Arkansas. But and I just had a Dogman from one of my families that's in my 3rd book. He got trapped in one of his vegetable. They grow vegetables in these big greenhouses, big giant greenhouses. 50, 60 feet long. They're all like Quonset huts, and they're soft plastic. But anyhow, he was in there one day and he saw something. He thought it was a Sasquatch. And this is the kind of funny thing, that I have my habituation people. They see Sasquatch every day, every week, every month. They see him all the time. So my guy's thinking, oh, it's one of the juveniles sneaking up on me. Because they see them all the time. They come and watch them. They watch them while they farm. They watch them while they bury their animals that die. They watch them live their day-to-day life. And I've been over there. I've been up there 3 times. It's intriguing. But he was in the greenhouse, and he was at the back adjusting the flames on the propane heater, because they have propane heaters. They have heaters in between 2 greenhouses, run pipes into them. So he was in there adjusting whatever that for the heat, because it's been warming up here in Missouri. And he sees this black Dogman with ears that are like 6-8 inches tall, and it's running its finger down the plastic, and then it's poking holes in the plastic. It's like he's never seen the material before. It was just the weirdest thing. And he sent me pictures. I got some greasy fingerprints and they're really just thin lines. It's a fingernail going down the plastic on the outside. He was inside. He couldn't get out. He was afraid to get out because he'd seen them before, but this was like inches away, So he was like, he didn't know what to do. I can send you the pictures later. They're you wouldn't know them by anything, but you see the little pictures. Well, excuse me, the punctures where he's sticking fingers in there. He said, I don't think he'd ever seen plastic before. It was just the weirdest thing. I'm watching. He's acting like so. But they're creeping their way here into Missouri, and I don't know if many of the things I've seen at night could have been a Dogman. I assumed them to be Sasquatch because that's all I'm really seeing. That's all I'm dealing with. And nobody else up until the last year has been bringing up Dogman reports. Now, I took 2 Dogman reports, I think. No, they were South Missouri, yeah. And he called in a Sasquatch report about 11 and 12 o'clock at night. And then when him and his girlfriend are hauling ass back to the car, she's way ahead of him because she got a head start and she's got the keys. He locked her out of the car, or she locked him out of the car accidentally. She let him in. But as he was getting to the car, he sees a Dogman. It just stands up and exposes himself. It just stands up and is standing there looking at the car. Now, the area that this is in, this is south of Kansas City, Missouri, probably about 30 miles. It's the Amarugia Conservation Area. It's called Amarugia. There's a town called Amarugia. There's a band called the Amarugia Ridge Runners. They're named after the Dogman skinwalkers of the Native American tribes that live down in that area. And they say the skinwalkers are the Amerindia Ridge Runners. There's a band called the Amerindia Ridge Runners that are still around playing, and they are named after the Native American tribe that took. I don't know where the name for the conservation area came from, either from the tribe who took it from us naming it, or that was already the name in the tribe, that the tribal name was taken to use on the band's name. But so I'm starting to get those. I just did the Paracon, Kansas City, last weekend, and I got all sorts of reports of skinwalkers, pale whites, the tall Nordics, ETs, a little of everything. And so people are seeing that stuff, in the Dogman, now that I know people are defining them specifically as the Dogman. Well, it could have been a Sasquatch. No, it was a Dogman. I mean, it had a snout that was a foot long, and the ears are, as long as a snout, and it had the backward hind legs and all of that. I've got a couple of my Sasquatch people see the Dogman now more than the Sasquatch. And they have a Sasquatch living on their property, a female. So it's coming full circle, and it could be that some of these things were just poorly described or misidentified to me or by me, because nobody else. I've taken hundreds of reports. I've had 100 reports published to BFRO. I've probably taken 300 or 400. None of those had Dogman until the last year, and I've taken probably 3 or 4. It's coming full circle. They seem to be very prevalent in the Ohio, Appalachia area, Dogman reports and things like that. They see because there's a huge cave system up there.
Yeah, the where I saw my Sasquatch was in the Boardman, Youngstown, Ohio area, which is right like on the Appalachians and right at the border of Pennsylvania and Ohio. And it's a residential area, but also the residential area is surrounded by a very industrial area, like large warehouse area, and a big farm, and not farm, large trucking companies are out in that area that back in the day in the 70s, where all the steel was being transferred back and forth through Ohio and Pennsylvania for the Detroit and other industries. But this is where Bigfoot is being seen. But I think that you're right about the Dogman. Bigfoot, there are stories and there's, I don't remember the guy's name that Joe has a friend of, that's mapped like every decade, where Bigfoot sightings and UFO sightings are. And oddly enough, the concentrations of both UFO and Bigfoot sightings, when you take them separately, are in certain concentrated areas. But when you overlap them, they're almost virtually in the same identical places.
Yeah.
Very bizarre.
Yeah. Well, if there's a cave system,
right,
that they both use,
yes,
then that would make sense. I'm just trying to, and this is the only thing that causes me pause, is that would Sasquatch and Dogman or even Mothman be compatible as existing or coexisting together in a feeding or habitual area? That's the only thing I wonder.
Question. Yeah, that I don't know. You'd have to do some deeping, I guess, deeper digging rather. It's intriguing, but I do know that the Hopi have some stories of where they talk about getting into wars with red-haired giants and ant people.
Well, those are probably true.
Yeah, I know.
they didn't have hoaxing 300 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. Here's a blurry photo. Oh, here's a blurry rock chiseled ape I just stuck on this rock here on the side of the mountain. And
there are a lot of cases that pop up in some of these shows, and of course, I don't trust everything that comes across the shows. I don't watch that many of them, but there's seems to be like paranormal caught on camera and several other ones where this type entity, and I don't know if it's real or not, but they're like bald and kind of moving. They look naked like Nosferatu, but they keep popping up in different videos, and I'm trying to just figure out what type of being it is. And there are some pretty weird videos of it that I guess they're real, but I mean I don't really know. But there's some damn weird ones for sure.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like pale whites those sound like, but the pale whites are usually very, very tall and slender.
Yeah,
I mean, like 8, 9, like outrageously tall. You know. But we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. You know, we're told, you know, this is my mantra. From the day you come out of your birth canal till the time you're 20, you've been told how to see the world.
Yeah.
What's real and what's not. So you have to undo the schooling you get for 18 years, 22 years if you go to college, all the church and biblical stories, all the teachings, all the social media, all the stuff that tells you what's real and what's not. Well, you don't know any different. You just go about living your life trying to get to the first quarter of your life out of the way. And well, there's no such thing as Sasquatch. There's no UFOs. There's no life on other planets. There's none of this. So that's all a bunch of crap. So, okay, I got that all covered. So now what? You know.
So what's the I've interviewed Stan Gordon before about UFOs and Sasquatch. What's the weirdest that comes up with that for you? I mean, where's it gone to? Where can you take us? Because that's a big one. I love that one, though, that connection. You know, it's interesting for sure. I
did a show with Pork and Beans. You familiar with Pork and Beans?
No, I'll have to look it up.
Pork and Beans out of Canada, BC. One of the co-hosts for his college thesis, him and about 20 other people, I don't know if it was a psychology class or what it was, had to write a paper. And the paper involved the hypnosis of abductees. And the criteria was you had to be awake from the moment you were taken to the moment you were returned to your house or car or wherever you were taken from. You had to be awake the entire time. They wanted to know what the top 5 alien or ET races that were seen on the craft when they were abducted. Greys, tall greys, reptilians, Sasquatch, and the Nordics were the top 5. So in other words, the Sasquatch were supposed to be there. They weren't abductees. They weren't some of the cattle mutilations, animal abductions where they take them up and, you know, take soft tissue samples and throw them back down on the planet. So, and I have the list. It's called, what is it called? The Articles of, what is it called? Anyway, but it's interesting. And all of these people, the Sasquatch were walking around these craft like they owned the place. They weren't like abductees. And these other ETs and the Nordics, they were the top 5. I'm trying to think if I can pull it up. But anyway, it was intriguing that out of all these dozens of psychology students or whatever the class was, they had enough people remembered being awake from the time they left their house to the time they got back, car, wherever they were. Trying to find that document because it is pretty cool. I may not be able to find it here. I'll have to find it and send it to you, but it's pretty cool. But, you know, so they did this and they saw all types And this could have been, my abductions could have been part of the American program. So you don't really know. But they saw them there. They saw them. They were walking around. They were interacting with the abductees. How do you talk to a Sasquatch? Well,
It's a lot to think about.
what's been going on here, Bag?
Yeah,
But
well, I don't know the full story on the Sasquatch aliens, but I do know that there is an alien type, and I have to go look in my pad is upstairs. I have one of those fire pads, and I have one of the Blue Planet Project books that has alien species in it. And anyway, there's a creature that's, and it sounds kind of silly, but it's kind of Chewbacca-like, Bigfoot-like, and it's a technologically advanced being that is just hairy, and it's very like our Sasquatch. But it is of my understanding that it is a different species than the Sasquatch that are on our planet. But if you were to put them side by side, you'd notice the immediate differences. But if you'd only seen one or the other, you would mistake one for both. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just amazing, and all this is going on around us.
Mm-hmm.
And the government knows. They know what's going on. I mean, they're running the show.
Well, the government knows some things. They're vaguely aware of it, but they don't know of the entire story as a whole. And that's what kind of scares them. Through the years of research, I think I know more of the overall story than most people in our government know on the surface. But I think if we were all to discover the full story, we would be appalled at what has happened. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Some of us would. I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either. But I mean, it would the true story, the truth of the whole truth, would probably make many, many people sick to their stomach.
Well, what's going on with the Skinwalker Ranch shows? Those are really weird. The government spooks there are more frightening than the paranormal phenomenon. And then on there's Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, which is like a spinoff where they're going to other ranches, and the people going are former CIA and now are on the show. And then they go to that Chris Bledsoe guy and put up neurology apparatus to summon UFOs with Colonel John Alexander standing next to him. So they're doing something with this show that's really weird. It's definitely taken new levels that I'm not used to. And I've seen that Alien Investigation George Knapp show. There's definitely a lot of government spooks.
Yeah, I've been watching that.
It's good. It's really good, but there's definitely some spook action happening in these shows.
The sad thing the really sad part is these people are finding out that the government they work for, and they think they're in the know, they hadn't told them anything that of any value. They're finding out that, well, they're just a peon like everybody else, like all the rest of the people. They think they know. They're given a few tidbits to morsels to chew on just to keep them quiet. But, there's some big secrets, government within the government, within the government, within the government, the black ops, all that, I mean, it's, there's so much stuff going on that, we'll never know. We'll never know. I want to know all the answers before I die, in case there is no afterlife. That's my hope.
The unfortunate truth is, and I hate to say it, is that we'll never know the full truth given to us from the government. But when the aliens are ready, they will disclose as much as they want to from their side. Will it be the full truth? Who's to know? We probably will never know, just like you said.
Yeah. They'll come. They have to. It's kind of like the same thing with the Sasquatch research. Our technology is getting too good. The technology us common humans have at our disposal on a day-to-day basis is getting better and better. So
we're
you might as well
nearly Star Trek-like.
Yeah, just quit BSing us. Just tell us the truth. We're big boys and girls. We can handle it. If you think we can't, that's just another lie you're telling us. Because I can handle it. I've known, there's people like me. We're all kind of in the research end of this, so not a lot surprises us. It might have when we first saw it, but there's not much you could show me, Sasquatch or ET wise or anything, that's going to shock me. Hell, I've been to Saturn. What are you going to show me that I can't handle? I've been regressed 8 times. I've been taken who knows how many times for at least 60 some odd years of my life. So what are you going to show me that I'm going to be surprised with? You're not going to show me anything, unless my mother was a 8-legged fire-breathing dragon from Uranus.
Right.
I'm not going to be shocked.
But the other thing is that most of native cultures on this planet are already aware of the situation, and
that's old news. They're just, you stupid white people. You don't know anything. You're just so stupid. And they're right.
They're laughing because we drank the Kool-Aid pretty much.
And then it seems like on these shows that they're definitely pointing that some kind of intelligence is here, interrupting their apparatus to find the intelligence. And that's what they're showing on these shows pretty much.
I think there's something more to it than that. I mean, they're definitely, they're on to something. They're looking for something. And it who knows? They could be doing this experiments with other alien life forms on other planets that are less advanced than us, even more advanced than us, but yet still less advanced than the aliens that are interacting with this planet. I mean, just think about it. People talk about the Garden of Eden in the Bible. The Anunnaki story of the creation of man. It's the creation of a slave race to do the work that they no longer wanted to do themselves. But you think about it, if you were going to make an experiment of creating a new species to do work, hard work for you, you don't just do one experiment. You do multiple experiments. The ones that peter out, you get rid of, and you keep going until you get the strong ones.
Yeah.
And allegedly, there were 7 experiments or seven iterations of the species that would become us. 7 predecessors, if you will.
That's from the Anunnaki and Sumerians.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Lloyd Pye's book, Everything You Know Is Wrong. It's a great book. And the other one, Everything You Know Is Still Wrong.
my good and dear friend who's passed along, Philip Coppens, wrote a book, History is Wrong. Eric Daniken also wrote a book, History is Wrong. I mean, it is the history that we have been taught is 100% false.
Yeah. And it's not just wrong, it's falsified.
That's what I just said. Yeah, 100% false.
Okay. I thought you said something else.
I actually interviewed Lloyd Pye once. God, that was a long time ago, but I know he's passed away. But there's some kind of Panama City, Florida connection or something around here that he may have been from. I'm not 100% sure, but I did interview him once many moons ago, a long ass time ago. That's for sure. But that was a good one. But it was on that book. But yeah, so the aftermath of these experiences, where does it take you? Is the true horror that this, as far as the afterlife is concerned, that this is infinite? Is that the true horror?
Yeah.
That's the point I'm at, I think.
Yeah.
But
if I were you, I would get regressed. I would look for did I send you that list or the QHHT?
I'll have to double check. I think
regressionist,
possibly an email. Yeah, I mean in our inbox. I'll have to look. I think so. Yeah.
I would have sent it a while back, but if you find you don't have it, I'm gonna make a note here. QHHT to.
I'll let you know,
Jeff. Yeah. But it's a Dolores Cannon website. If you just go on the Dolores Cannon website, and it'll say find a QHHT regressionist, and you're in Florida, so I think there's a few out there. But there are so many people that are afraid to find out because, it's not as bad as you think because you're still alive. If they were going to do something to you with you, they'd have done it.
If they
You
wanted to
know,
destroy the planet, they would have gotten
you
rid of us
know.
a long time ago. If and also those who might also be wary, not sure if they want to look into this further, look into the work of John Mack, Dr. John Mack. He kind of, I don't remember the man who preceded him at Harvard psychology department, but that man started the regression idea and abduction abduction therapy with the Hills, Benny and Barney Hill. John Mack acquired those cases when he took over as head of the psychology department at Harvard, and he came in as a skeptic, full on, could not believe in aliens, skeptic, 100% aliens don't exist. Before he passed, and well into the research early on, he flipped 180 degrees. He's fully onto the alien abduction theory. But he wrote many books on the subject. I recommend you look into his stuff, and then if that appeals to you, get regressed. It will definitely, as Carter says, help you.
I've got John Mack's 2 books, and who was the artist that painted? It was a very successful artist. He just passed away, and his wife was just regressed. He did nothing but regressed abductees in New York, called the New York Abductions. He did the Hudson River book. Artist. I want to say art. Well, I want to say art, but it's not art. It starts with an A.
I'm not sure, but I know there's that David Hutchinson guy that does paintings and stuff, but I'm not sure if that's the same guy, but that's who came up. David Hutchinson's, but he's got that's a Georgia situation. I'd have to look it up, but that's who came to mind. David Hutchinson's was a painter that had some UFO abduction stuff come up, and there's a documentary called Love and Saucers. I'm not sure if that's the same person, but
no, I want to say his name's Art. I know it starts with an A, but I got to find out who is the artist alien regressionist. Bud Hopkins.
Yeah, I wrote UFO hypno artist, and Bud Hopkins came up.
He is awesome, and he's got several books. I got all of his books, and he just laid it out there, and he ended up doing some painting of some of the things that people were saying before. He started that really late into his career. I think he died for any of you. But he has a wife who's very, very mean and nasty and angry, possibly because he passed. But his wife has been on a couple of shows, and she's been regressed and remembered a couple of things. But yeah, Bud Hopkins and John Mack are the 2 that are like trailblazers.
Pros.
Yeah. Bud Hopkins. I always want to call him something else. I'm not sure why I keep doing that. But, the other thing with my regression was that my wife was there for the revelation. She was also there with the revelation that a Sasquatch showed me images telepathically, and she was with me at my research area in South Missouri. And if I'd have told her, well, I already had told her some of the things that was going on down there. She's going, yeah, I'm not sure I'm buying into that. Well, she bought it when she was gone. So, and they're manipulating what I was seeing, and they can do this to anybody. The ETs, the Sasquatch, they can make you see whatever they want you to see, if nothing else other than to prove a point, and when I showed her my research area in Missouri. This is kind of interesting. And this is where I first saw a Sasquatch disappear 10 years earlier. when I was leading my first expedition, and it came around the corner. I think I was talking about this earlier, and it saw I was there in the darkness, being quiet because I was looking for lost campers, and it came around the corner, saw me, and took one step and just went out. So boom, it just disappeared. Flash of light, was gone. I wasn't stoned, wasn't drunk. My equipment's top of the line FLIR equipment, so it wasn't a hallucination or anything I saw. So this is us mere humans can be manipulated at any time. Was somebody talking? I couldn't hear.
You might be hearing my cat Bill. He's asking for head pettings.
Oh yeah, my cat Dusty does the same thing.
Yeah, he's an orange. He's pretty vocal.
But we have been manhandled, manipulated, lied to, and all of this stuff. The ETs have their run of the planet with us. They can come and get us, do whatever they want, whenever they want, and we probably don't even know the half of it.
I know in that alien investigation, George Knapp show, where did they go to South America, where some incident happened with UFOs in the ocean, and one of the victims has a burn on her and things like that. That was getting pretty deep with that one for sure. It's a good one. Yeah,
well, I'll tell you what, I did this Paracon this last weekend here at Maristar, the big paranormal conference, the big national Paracon. And a woman came up to me and she says, I've got some pictures I want to send you. And so she sent me 3 pictures because she was really interested in this book. She was really interested in that. And she has these on her knees. Something comes in and sits on her at night while she's in bed. She's got these 3 little marks on her leg and a bruise, and it's just like that picture you're talking about that Brazilian woman who had those marks on her.
Yes,
exact marks. I just emailed her yesterday. I said, if you don't have this show, you better get it. The alien show. I told her, I said, at the 11-minute and 37 seconds, you look at this and you tell me if you don't think these marks on this TV show look exactly like yours. Yeah, I know she'll get back with me in a few days. She's going to go, oh my God. Because they're a dead ringer for her marks. She doesn't have any memories. She just she has pictures of a shadow in her room. Something she said was sitting on her chest, so she couldn't move, and was doing something to her, and she couldn't remember. She was kind of confused. Young thing. She's probably 21, but she sent me the pictures, and that show you were watching, I just got through watching it. I sent her these pictures yesterday. I went and pulled that show up, took a picture of that girl with those marks on her thing when he's pulling above her dress and showing that. I sent them to her. She's like, oh my God, I'll be in touch. she's probably going off the deep end here right about now. But
definitely,
it's just it seems like it's so prevalent that it's not even a big deal anymore. It seems like it's so run of the mill. It's every day, this abduction thing, or even the sad. It's probably because we're in the business. It's probably because we're in the business of doing research and we're doing these shows, but because that's all we know. I eat, sleep, and drink my, just like you guys do yours. So maybe that's just all I am surrounding myself with, because that's all I'm interested in. Well, I'm open to other things, and these are just like poking me on the chest, like, no, you pay attention to this. This is something for you.
So when it comes to the Dogman encounter information that you've been hearing, what do you think this thing is doing? I mean, it sounds like a werewolf or something running around. What is it up to? That's something that is concerning. These werewolves.
Well, the same thing as Sasquatch. What does it do? It's just here. Are they feeding off of us humans? Are they just trapped on this planet living below ground because we don't see them? Like, you don't see many dogman reports crossing the highway. You see the Sasquatch crossing roads, you know, but maybe some of what people were seeing are dogman and they're not Sasquatch. I mean, you don't know because you're in a heightened sense of fear, shock, awe. You're in your car, you're trying to keep the car on the road, it's at night, the lights are on, maybe someone's talking to you, screaming in the car, and you're trying to decipher what you're seeing, and then by the time you see it, it's over. And well, I think it was a Sasquatch. It was tall, it was dark, it was 8 feet tall, it was hairy, you know. Well, the backward legs should tell you, you know. And my truck driver guy in St. Clair, Missouri, he sees them about 3 o'clock in the morning when he's loading his truck. He drives his work truck home and he sees them often while he's checking his load and his logs before he leaves for the day, about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. He's seen them several times, but he distinctly saw the backward legs, without a doubt. So is what it is.
I think in one of those Small Town Monsters documentaries, we've had a few of those authors on as guests, that they mentioned some kind of Native American thing with Dogman, like a curse story. I don't remember the exact story, but it was pretty creepy in the way they presented it in one of the documentaries. Has any Native American thing like that ever popped up with Dogman or anything that you recall?
Only in the one I was telling you down there in the Amarugia, because there's a Native American tribe that is down there, lives there, been there for a long time. I don't know. It's not the Amarugia tribe, but it's a Native American tribe. But they talk of, and their ancestors speak of, skinwalkers, shapeshifters for hundreds of years before now. The ones that are living there now, and so you know, there's no written report of anything with the Native Americans, so it's all handed down. You know, they just don't BS. You know, it is that's sacred to them. That's their
like you said, there's no hoaxing, you know, and a lot of times people, you know, just you know, they discount the Anunnaki stories. They say because people just invented language, they just invented writing, they just invented reading. Well, why would you invent, you know, written language and then write Star Wars and then say it was fake? I mean, it's basically the story of the Anunnaki. It's just, you know, it's unbelievable. Why would somebody invent reading and writing for the first time for people to, you know, a new education system, and then write this, you know, hogwash story of these guys who come from outer space and change the DNA of the species?
Yeah.
So it's either it's true or it's the best fiction ever written. You know, pick one, but it can't be both.
Well, that's a pretty amazing story to make up. That's the thing. That kind of stuff is so fantastical.
It's another amazing story, right?
It's got to be true. You know, I mean, you think it would. Of course, we want it to be true. You know, I'm not a dreamer, so I don't dream about these things, but they do come to me. But I don't seek it. You know, it just comes to me. I know it to be true, and all my witnesses that are living with these Sasquatches in habituation, they're all truthful, down to earth, real people telling me real events. And it should be the same way when you're talking to abductees and stuff like that. You know, this is real stuff, you know, and, you know, I know my close-minded family members and other friends just are like, come on. Okay, well, okay. You're off the Christmas party list. Thank you very much.
Well, Carter, always a great guest. We appreciate it very much. We got about 4 minutes. Is there any links or anything you'd like to add?
No, you can go to my web page, sqexplorer.com. Or if you want to discuss anything that we've discussed tonight with me, my email, sqexplorer@gmail.com. Pretty creative, huh? But anyway, you can email me. You know, if you want to buy books, I've got all my Sasquatch books and stuff like that. Just email me, Carter, sqexplorer@gmail. And you know, I've got a lot of people calling me and just discussing their abductions. If you want to talk about that, if you don't have anyone to talk to, if you're ridiculed like a lot of people are, a lot of my Sasquatch witnesses are just made fun. Yeah, right. What are you smoking? You know.
Well,
you
I
know,
mean, even if they're not an abductee, even just an observee, someone who's just seen a UFO,
Yeah.
they're loath to come forward for the fear of ridicule.
Yeah. And so, I'm usually always available. I'm semi-retired. I get, if you email me or contact me, I get to you eventually. And I don't mean weeks later. I mean a day or two or so. I mean, but if somebody wants to talk about their, and like with Jeff, when he's talking about, I want to get regressed, I think, I don't know, I would just say, get over whatever things you've heard about it and just do it, because you're going to be so happy you did it rather than lamenting, I wish I'd have done that. And no one has to know it. You don't have to tell anybody. Just do it. And you can share with the world or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got things locked in your head and your heart. You need to get them out. I mean, had I not done it by accident, I don't know if I would have taken the same advice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We've had some Ozark guests on, and I've always wanted to read those Dolores Cannon Nostradamus books, but I've never gotten around to it. But she had some pretty interesting books, Custodians and things like that. Definitely some strong things for sure from Dolores.
Yeah, she's got some real good books, and like I say, her daughters still run the foundation down there in Arkansas, same town and everything. So, but hey, I enjoyed being here. Good seeing Jay, everybody. I mean, it's always good chat.
Yeah,
we appreciate it. Thanks so much. Great show, and everybody, you're listening to United Public Radio 107.7 FM New Orleans. Thanks for floating us. I'm tired. Carter, you an amazing show. Jay, an amazing show. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next weekend. Good night.
All right. Hey, send me a link so I can share.
Definitely will.
All right. Good night, John.